Thank you very much. Uh, everyone, I hope you're well. We shall start our discussion about growth by looking at the picture on the screen. So, everyone, take a look at this picture. What do you see? What connection do you see between growth and the picture? Please drop your thoughts in the chat. Idris says he sees growth. Thank you
You see
very much.
progression.
Everyone, I hope you're well. We shall start our discussion about growth by looking at the picture on the screen.
Sorry.
So, everyone, take a. I'm getting some feedback. Sorry, it's okay now. All right. So, a number of us have confirmed that we see growth. Notice that it always begins small. You see, you have a seed which grows into something that is bigger and greater. I don't know if most of you have heard about the mustard seed, one of the smallest seeds ever. It always starts as a seed. Growth always has to start from somewhere. And when that seed grows, it grows into a really, really huge tree. And that is what growth is about. So, just like we're talking about this, just like a plant, we also need time, care, and the right environment to truly thrive. Growth doesn't happen by accident. That means that you need to have the right conditions around you to have growth happen in your life. Just like this seed, growth is not instant. I'm not sure if any of us here have been farmers or we've been to gardens before, but we all know that when you put a seed in the ground, it takes some time. It is gradual. You'll come and you find it as a short plant, a small plant, and then after some time you'll find the tree that you planted or a plant that is bearing fruit. So it takes time, but it is consistent. And as a farmer, what do you have to do? You have to keep watering. Sometimes you have to mulch, you have to cover the plants, whatever you have to do. But the thing is, growth compounds. It grows through consistent actions. You have to be intentional about the things that you do for growth to happen. One of the one of the evidences that you are alive is growing. If you have two seeds, for example, one bean seed that is fresh, then you have another seed that has been cooked. If you plant them, which one will grow? Of course, the one that is alive. So that means that one of the evidences you have that you are alive is growth. If you stop growing, it means you are dying. You may not be dying physically, but your mindset is, your purpose is, your impact is. So the question for us today is, are we living or are we existing? Yeah. So whoever is on this call, you can let us know. Do you think you're living or are you just existing? Are you like that dead seed that has been planted and could be just there doing nothing? Yeah. And next we're going to talk about how intentional growth is, because the only way, like we've said, the only way you can know that you are alive is if you're growing. Yeah, David said he's living. That's good to know. Yeah, we can go to the next slide, please. So, like I have said before in the slide before, growth requires you, like for you to grow, you have to be, one way you can know that you're alive is by growing. And right now, when you read the words on the screen, the only guarantee that tomorrow will get better is that you grow today, right? I'll read that again. The only guarantee that tomorrow will get better is that you grow today. What does this mean to each of us? What does this mean to you? Can someone tell us what this quote means to them? Does it even make sense? Do you think it makes sense? Do you think it's right? Can you think of a time in your life when you made an intentional effort to grow and it made a difference in your life? Yeah, Idris says when you grow, you get better. That is true. So any comments on the quote? I'm still waiting for some comments on the quote. Thompson says, for a better future and growth, we need to keep thriving. No, sorry, I think I read that. For better future and growth, we need to put efforts into our growth today. Yes, that is true. When you grow, you are not where you used to be. That is true. So, just like the quote says, the only guarantee that tomorrow will get better is that you grow today. What does that mean? It means that growth does not happen by chance. Just like a gardener, you have to plant the right seeds. If you want mangoes, you cannot plant purples and expect to get mangoes. No, it doesn't happen like that. So in our lives, what seeds can we plant to be able to grow tomorrow? Values, some of the values that we have, values like honesty, discipline, faith, resilience. Yeah. If we plant these seeds, we are definitely sure that we shall grow tomorrow. If you nurture the strengths that you have, if you nurture the creativity in you, the leadership, communication, empathy, those things that you know you are good at, there is assurance that tomorrow you will be better. If you do not plan intentionally, weeds will grow. Yeah, because like I mentioned earlier, if you plant maize and yet you want purpose, what is going to happen? You will not harvest maize. You will definitely harvest purpose. So even us, if we do not plant intentionally, we are going to find weeds growing. If we put this in our lives, what are weeds? What characteristics can we say? What can we look at and say this is a weed? All bad habits are like weeds. So, for example, laziness, distractions. Probably you're supposed to be preparing for exams, but you're always distracted. Those are some of the examples of weeds that we have in our lives. So for me, the question for us today is, what are we planting? What fruit do you want to see, and how are you going to get that fruit? Are you planting maize and expecting to get purpose, or are you planting your maize and not even caring for it, and then weeds are growing? I'll give us an example. I'm sure most of us have heard about Chimamanda Ngozi Adichie, one of Nigeria's most celebrated authors. She did not just wake up and become a global voice for literature and culture overnight. No. From a young age, she read widely, she wrote consistently, she sought opportunities. Did she fail? Yes, she did multiple times, but she kept growing, writing, learning, refining her voice. And today, as we speak, her books are read across the world, and her TED Talks have influenced millions. So when you look at her story, what does it remind you? It reminds you that tomorrow will only get better. You may face challenges today, but if you're intentional about the things that you're doing in your life, tomorrow will only be better. For example, Chimamanda chose to plant seeds of persistence, discipline, creativity, long before the world knew her. By the time the world got to know her, she was already on the right path. So, like I said at the beginning, growth isn't automatic. You have to do certain things, you have to be intentional for growth to happen in your life, right? And our next point will be that growth is a choice. Every day you choose whether you're going to grow or you're going to stagnate. And I'm sure all of us here will confirm that, right? We all agree that growth is a choice. Do we? Yes, growth is a choice. And even those who do not agree, you have to. Nothing beautiful grows unless you plant it. Yeah, you cannot have a farm and you leave it there and it rains and the sun shines, and what, one day you're just expecting to come and find strawberries. That is impossible. You have to plant it. So we have to make a choice. As a farmer, the farmer makes a choice on what plants they're going to grow for a given season. Even us in our lives, we have to make a choice. So when you make a choice to study, to pray, to practice, to read, to ask for help, this is you making a choice to grow. All those small things that you decide to do, this is you making a choice to grow. And after that choice, it's consistent action. Like you have to nurture it. If you say that at maybe after my in my fourth year or third year, the end of it all, I have to have a first class, you have to be intentional. Yes, you've made the choice, you've said it, but you have to do things on a daily to nurture it. You have to read, you have to prepare, you have to be available. The same way a farmer will nurture, protect, weed, you know, the same way a farmer will water, the same way they will do all those things, is the same way you have to nurture whatever choice you have made. And most importantly is patience. All of us know that, farmers will wake up and plant in January or December, and maybe they will see the first fruits of their labor. For some plants in November. Yeah, so there is patience. Sometimes you have made a choice to do something, but you do not have the results you're seeking. You have to be patient. It takes time. Nothing, like I said at the beginning, nothing grows unless someone decides to plant it. So when you make a choice, you follow through with consistent actions, and then after that, with patience, you will see the results take place. Every day we choose whether we are going to grow or whether we are going to drift. So every day that you wake up, you're making a choice. You're making a choice to say, okay, how am I going to reach where I want? I will have good habits. I will have strong values. I will have people around me that will influence me the right way for you to flourish. But if you ignore all these things, other things will take root. Before you know it, for example, instead of reading, if you do not have the right people around you, before you know it, you're getting distracted, you're wasting time, you're getting engaged in habits that don't benefit you. So this is where the intentionality comes from. You have to be intentional today for you to get the seeds that you're expecting to get tomorrow. And really, our takeaway from all this is growth isn't automatic. It's not by luck or by chance. You'll not just wake up and see things happen on their own. No, you have to make a choice and you have to make it every day. And when you make this choice, you have to nurture it. That means you have to intentionally get out of your way to make sure things are working, things are going well. And even if you fail, do not give up. You have to just keep moving and keep moving in the right path. And then next, we are going to see that, like I've said, I think I've mentioned this before, growth has to be intentional. But how do we grow? How do we put this intentionality? How do we make it happen? So that's what we're going to see on the next slide. So another question for us. When you're going to start a garden, what decisions do you have to make? If you want to plant maize, for example, if you want to sow maize at the end of it all, what decisions do you have to make? You have to, I believe, decide on the seeds, right? You have to choose which seeds you're going to plant. If you want a mango garden, you have to look for mango seeds. If you want a maize garden, you have to look for maize seeds. So the garden you want determines the seeds you're going to sow, right? Now, the next question is, okay, so in your life, what seeds are you going to plant for you to have personal growth? Just just as in gardening, even in personal growth, the seeds you sow determine the harvest you will receive. If you sow good values, if you sow strength, if you sow in your strength, you will reap success and fulfillment. On the other hand, if you neglect your growth, if you neglect everything that you're supposed to do, if you keep bad company around you, you won't have any harvest to enjoy. And I mean, whose fault is that? Because it's a choice you are making. So it has to be you to make these decisions. So, what areas in your life do you want to grow in? You need to identify these areas. And then, after identifying them, you identify the values, the skills, the strengths, the things that you need to do for these areas to grow. Yeah. When I talk about values, what are values? What are values? Values are these things that guide your decisions and actions every day. Values are things that you believe are important in the way you live your life. Values will give you growth on the inside before you even see it externally. If someone has been waking up every day and they're doing something, not all of you may know it. For example, if you know that someone has purposed in their lives to be honest and they do that all the time, at that given moment when the world is watching, they'll be asked something and they'll be honest. So a number of times you find that values are things that grow us on the inside. They are cemented on the inside before they can even be seen externally. So sowing value-based crops will reap you internal growth, right? It will help you grow internally, personally, and when you embrace a certain value, it will allow you to have a certain kind of future, like we said. Things like integrity are a value. If you
Hello? Hello, Ma, can you hear me?
I think she's logged out something.
Oh, okay, okay. Sorry, let's just give some time. I think the network glitch should be back shortly. Sorry about that. Well, whilst we are waiting on that, I think we should use this session to engage in chat box. Just in quick word, what have you learned so far from today's session? What has inspired you so far from today's session? I just use the chat box. Let's hear from us. What have you learned so far so good? Growth must be intentional. Okay.
Mm. Roberta's choice. Nice.
Yeah, over to you, Rhoda. I think you should just take a session on this with them.
Yes, I will.
Okay, reach out to her.
Okay. Hmm. Nothing beautiful grows unless you plant it. That's great. I want to see more comments in the chat box. The growth requires consistency. Okay, now let's change the mood of this comment. And our facilitator said something that the seed you sow determine the value you achieve. So now I want you to change it to I need to sow this to grow. I need to sow dash to grow. So fill in that dash with what you need to sow. Look into your life, look into your present state. What do you need to grow? What do you need to sow to grow? The seed you sow determine the value you achieve. Can you
Okay.
hear me?
Hi,
Can anybody
Rhoda.
hear me?
Yeah, I can hear you now. Can you hear me?
Okay, I think my
Yeah.
network.
Okay. I think we're up to the next speaker. So we'll be moving over to Mr. Momodu now to take us on to the next session. Thank you so much. If you can hear me. Hello, sir. Can you hear me, sir?
Yes, I can hear you loud and clear. Can you hear me?
Yeah, we can hear you clearly. Yes. Over to you, sir. Yeah.
Okay, I should pick up from here.
Yeah. Yes. Yes, you can, sir.
Let me just turn on my camera. So
Okay.
good.
Sorry, I think I lost my connection a bit.
Oh, okay. Okay. Welcome back, ma.
Okay,
Okay, yeah, I'm
Rina
back.
is back.
Yes, welcome. Okay. So I think we can proceed with Mrs. Reynard to just wrap up, and then Mr. Mobubu comes up.
Okay.
Yes.
Just I was actually concluding. Sorry about that. But just as we conclude, I talked about the values that we need to grow, the values that we need to make sure we cultivate to be able to get good results. But the other thing also that we need to think about are our strengths. Strengths will give us growth on the outside. We talked about values giving us growth on the inside, but the strengths will give us growth on the outside. So the strengths are what are your natural abilities and talents. A number of times people focus on their weaknesses, but we need to focus on our strengths. These are the things that come to you naturally, these things that you do very well. If you're good at solving problems, look for something to grow within yourself that will help you develop this strength, right? Because this will give you an edge in the field. And then even all the other strengths that we have, you need to look at them and see areas in which you can grow them, cultivate them, and multiply them. And finally, as you grow, if you want to grow through life, not just grow life, you need to choose to grow each of the values in the mentorship program that we are having today. You will discover that your growth on the inside will fuel your growth on the outside. So thank you very much. I hope that we all take one intentional step this week towards our personal growth. So maybe some of you can share with us what steps you're going to take to make sure that you're growing. Steps to, first of all, grow the values within you, and steps to grow the strengths that are going to help you get the growth that you expect to have in a few years to come. Thank you very much.
All right. Thank you so much, Rena, for a wonderful time of presenting those great messages. So please confirm everyone that you can hear me so that I'll take off from here. Can everyone hear me loud and clear?
Yes, we can hear you.
All right. Thank you, Rhoda. All right. So I will go straight into what we have today for the second part of this very wonderful MMM series. But before we do that, I would like somebody to just, or many people to write some of the key things you heard Mrs. Rena say. There are some keywords I would love to see in the chat. So I'll be looking at the chat to see what do you retain from what she has said. There are some very key words that she mentioned. So can somebody put some things in the chat? Let's see how that looks like. Growth is a choice. Excellent. Yes. What else do you have in the chat? What else are we seeing in the chat? Growth needs work, intentionality, Ijoma says, patience, value, choice. Growth does not happen by chance. Yes. If you don't plant intentionally, weeds will grow. Consistency is key. Excellent. So those are very good responses. And I think it shows that you guys were listening to the depth of what she presented. So right now, I'm going to go straight into the second part. And I will start off with the environment. Your environment. This is a very key part to grow. Environment is very, very key. I heard Rena say about two types of seed, the seed that you've boiled or you've cooked, and
Okay, hello sir. If you can hear us, your line is breaking. You have some network downtime. I think he's having network downtime too. So this seems to be an exciting day for us.
My network broke.
Okay,
Can you hear
welcome.
me again?
Yeah, we can hear you.
All right.
Welcome back.
All right, perfect. I think it should be stable now. All right, so quick one. I want you to write, have you tried to grow something before,
Okay.
but in the wrong environment? What happened? Let's
Okay,
get
hello
some
sir.
responses. Can you hear me?
Yeah, we can hear you, but
Your voice is very low, sir.
the background is a bit noisy.
It's not
My
clear
voice is
too.
very low.
Okay, yeah, the noise is stopped.
Is it a bit better now?
Yeah, yes. I think it's a lot better now.
Yes,
Yeah,
it's
not better
better,
now.
much better.
Okay, sorry about that. Okay, good. Thanks a lot. Thanks for the response, teacher. Okay, so let's quickly delve into it so we can gain some time. So, have you tried to grow something? I want you to reflect. We may not have all the time, so we can maximize the time. Have you tried to grow something in the wrong environment? What happened? Now, many of us have experiences in this area, but it's a very needful thing to keep in mind because since growth is a choice, it means that we must learn to plant the values and strengthen the things that we have in order to get the results we want. So I want to say very clearly because I will spend some time on this slide that your environment is very, very crucial to your growth. It is extremely crucial to your growth. Now, let me just quickly say it this way. Now, I read a good book, which many of you do, which is called the Bible. And one of the lessons we can learn is that wherever you choose to plant yourself can make a whole lot of difference. Now, if you choose to plant yourself in a good soil, then you are guaranteed that you will have good results. Or if you choose to plant yourself in a hard ground or in a thorny ground, you will not have the same level of results. So keep it in mind that your environment is extremely, extremely crucial. And many of us will talk about, okay, what does environment mean, and how can we harness it? Maybe that can come up in the Q&A. But I want you to take it very strongly that your environment really, really matters. Now there is a very wonderful saying that if you walk with the wise, you yourself will also become wise, right? So that's an environment. So, and if you walk with fools, you stand to be destroyed. So, environment really, really matters. So, let me tell you some essentials you need for a very good environment. What we all want is a growth environment. So, the first thing a growth environment you need to have is always know that others are ahead of you. Now, let me explain it a simple way. Others are ahead of you. How many of you have heard about Miles Monroe? Maybe some of you have heard about Miles Monroe. He's late now, but Miles Monroe said one day he came back from school and he brought home his results from school and he showed his results to his mother. You can still stay on the same slide, Luigi. He he brought his results to his mother and he came first in his class. And the mother looked at his results. He had about an average of 65 in his class, but he came first. The mother looked at him, looked at the result, and said, "You came first in your class." He was very happy. He said, "Yes." He said, "You are the best in your class." He said, "Yes." "And this is the result of the first person in the class." He said, "Yes." And the mother said, "You are not the smartest person in your class. It's just that there are more dumb people in your class." And that was a very big message Miles Monroe learned. His average was 65, but it was nothing compared to other classes. So when he looked at himself, he was top of his class. He felt he was the best. He didn't realize he was not growing. So you need other people to be ahead of you. And I want to say to you that some of the best CEOs in the world are always surrounded by people more intelligent than they are, the CEOs. So that's a very wise thing to do. Surround yourself with people who are ahead of you. If you're at the top of your class, maybe you need to get some people who will challenge you so that you can grow. That's the first point. Others are ahead of you. Now, the second thing about the growth environment is that you need other people to encourage you. Listen, life is not meant for us to run alone. You need other people to encourage you because we all have hustles. We all have hassles. We have challenges. So we need people who will not only challenge us, but people who would also encourage us on the journey. So think about it. Who in your life is encouraging you to grow? This is a very big question. If there is nobody in your life that is encouraging you to grow, my friend, you need to change your environment. Anybody that feels happy the way you are or with what you've achieved and feels you've arrived, like we say commonly, the person is not doing you a good favor. I remember somebody once said, somebody came boasting and said, "I have 2 degrees. I have, in fact, 3 degrees. I have a BSc, I have an MSc, I have a PhD." And the person teased him and said, "Well, a circle has 360 degrees. You only have 3. So there's room for growth. So look for people who can encourage you, not discourage you on the path of growth. Now, point number 3 about a growth environment, you cannot grow in a comfort zone. Yes, this is a given. You cannot grow in a comfort zone. So you will need to step out of your comfort zone. You need to step out. What's a comfort zone? A comfort zone is a zone you know too well. It's a zone where you are used to. In fact, it's your best place. It's your safe place. That's a comfort zone. But if you want to grow, you will need to step out from your comfort zone. And permit me, because I adhere to the scriptures a lot to guide my life, so I'll make mention of them from time to time. And we see, for those of you who are aware, there's a time when God would say to a man called Abraham, he said, Abraham, leave your father's house, your mother's house, and go to the land that I will show you. I will show you. Now, was that going to be easy for Abraham? The answer is no. Was it going to meet challenges? The answer is yes. But was there a chance to grow? The answer is yes. So comfort never, ever helps you to grow. I mean, take a look at that plant. Even though it's not the beginning of the plant on the screen, when you see a plant budding out of the ground, I'm always amazed how hard the ground is, but you see the tender leaves of the ground, or the leaves of the plant, pushing outside of the ground. That shows growth. So this is very, very important. I'm hearing the feedback from someone. Can we please check that? I'm hearing a feedback from somebody. All right, let me go to the next point. All right, so the next one about the growth environment. Now, this is a very key one, and I think this is where the next picture will come in. Failure is not your enemy. Failure is not your enemy. I love what this article says, which we have here. It says failure is a feedback. I think somebody needs to write this down so that it stays in his memory. Please write it down in the chat, every one of you. Everybody, I want you to write this down. Write that failure is a feedback. Everybody put it down there. Failure is not your enemy. Failure is not your enemy. Not your enemy. I want you to write failure is a feedback. Yes, Mary, well done. Failure is a feedback. Shamaka, good. I want this to stick in your mind. Let me tell you what Michael Jordan said. How many of you know Michael Jordan? How many of you heard of the great basketballer called Michael Jordan? He's considered probably the best basketballer. Well, I call him the best basketballer of all time. I know the younger generation would say, maybe it's LeBron James. Hey, LeBron doesn't have what Michael has. But let me just say something. Michael said, as the best basketballer of all times, this is what he said: I have missed more than 9,000 shots in my career. I have lost over 300 games. 26 times, my team has relied on me to make the final shot, and I missed it. I failed over and over and over in my life, and that is why I succeed. Did you hear that? This is arguably the best player, but he said he missed 9,000 shots. When you see him play, you think he can do no wrong. He missed 9,000 shots. 300 games he lost. Times when his team thought he would score the winning basket, he missed it. But he said, these are the things that made him to succeed. That's a feedback. So failure is needed, is not what you should see as the end of your life. It's not an enemy, but failure is a good stepping stone. If you treat it as a feedback, it helps you to get into the right growth environment. And finally, whenever you're growing, always know that others will also grow with you, which is what I said earlier, that if you walk with the wise, you will also become wise. I think it was Joshua Selman who said in one of the very viral videos, he said, now, if you're in a room with 6 foolish people, how many people are there in the room that are foolish? If you say 6, you're wrong. Actually, there are 7 because that includes you. That includes you. So if you have 6 foolish people in the room, and then you are in that room, you are the 7 foolish people. So keep that in mind. Keep that in mind. But if you're with the wise people, it's the opposite. If there are wise 5 people in the room, and you happen to be the 6th person in the room, now there are 6 wise people in that room. So think about that. So this picture gives you a narrative, a very simple snapshot of what a growth environment looks like. Now look at all the things beneath. You have persistence, you have failure, you have sacrifice, you have disappointment, you have dedication. These things are not seen. Most times nobody sees them, but ultimately they are the things that help you to grow. So there are a lot more good habits, consistency, hard work. They make a lot of things. You can see there's disappointment there. Yeah, disappointment is there. If you look at disappointment as a feedback, it can help you to grow. All right, let's go now to the next slide, and let's see what we can learn from the next slide. So please go on to the next slide, Luigi. All right, so this is a quote from Cash Penny, and he says here, growth is never by mere chance. It's a result of forces working together. Do you agree with that? Yes, think about it for a moment. Everybody think about it for a moment. Growth is never by mere chance. Rina told you that growth is a choice. And if something is a choice, then it's not a chance. If something is by choice, then it's not by chance. So do not sit and then assume that things will happen. You know, I refer to the good book once again. It says, a lazy man will just look at the weather and say, well, I don't think I can do anything today. Well, maybe my plants will just grow. I don't know. Maybe, maybe not. It doesn't happen. If you want plants to grow, you have to plant seeds. If you want to get a harvest, you have to remove weeds. You have to cultivate. So growth is never by a mere chance. Now, what forces can work together to make your growth a growth? What forces do you need? Now, there's a combination of things I'll quickly say so that we can move on and get to the Q&A. Now, the things that are very important to note is that one, you need the right people. Please, somebody write it down. You need the right people. If you want to grow, you need the right people. Why do we need right people? Because they are wrong people. That's life. Life is made up of good and bad people. Life is made up of right and wrong people. That's the nature of the world we are in. So you need right people. Second thing you will need as a force, you will need the right habits. Put that in the chat again. You need the right habits. You need it. You need the right habits. There are habits that make for growth. There are habits that take away growth. So growth is not by chance. And I tell you one thing that comes to my mind now is this. You need to be honest when it comes to growth. You need to be honest with yourself. When you look around you, like it is said in the old and still said today, 20 people cannot be in the same class for 20 years. That's true. Even if they all start at the same pace, even if they all have the same equal opportunities, it doesn't mean they will be the same for 20 years. It will depend on their habits. It will depend on their mindset. What is a mindset? A mindset is what you have set in your mind. It's what you set in your mind. Somebody wakes up in the morning and says, the rain is falling. I can't do anything today. Somebody says, the rain is falling. Or this is an opportunity to do something today. It's a mindset. So the forces you need the right people, you need the right habits, and also you need the right mindset because growth is not accidental. Rina talked about it. It's always intentional. Growth is intentional. So you need forces working together. And just take a look at that plant right again on your screen. Just look at that plant on your screen. The plant needs many things to grow. The plant came from a seed, but it needs the sun. It needs the right quantity of the sun. It needs water. It needs the soil. It needs all these right things and the right ingredients. But you know the first thing the plant needed to do? It needed to be planted. Yes, Chema put that very nicely. The three things you need. The seed had to be planted. It had to be buried, which is not convenient. And that's what you love about a plant. Have you ever planted a seed by putting the seed on the surface of the ground? A seed that says, oh, I don't want to be buried. It's too hot down there. It's too difficult. If I get buried, I can't see. I don't know what's going to happen. Well, you know what will happen to that seed? Eventually, the seed may sprout, but the growth of that seed is going to be very stunted. So it's not convenient for a seed to be buried under the ground. To be buried means there are a lot of things that are unseen that are going to grow. So think about it. Growth does not happen by mere chance. Growth is very intentional. Let's go to the next slide and let's see what we can still learn about growth. This is very key. Now, the next thing we'll see here is about the timing of growth. Now, there is the power of growing daily. I love this a lot. I love this. Now, many of us think that growth is something that happens at once. No. I mean, let me ask you a simple question. Look at you. You remember the time when you were a baby? Do you remember when you still had diapers on? Maybe you don't even remember that part because your mom knows or your dad knows. There were times when you had diapers running around the streets and making all the fuss in your room. But now look at where you are. Some of you are 19, 20, 17, 18, and more. What became of you? It was a daily growth. You fed daily, not just at once. You didn't just become 19 or 20 or 18. You had to grow every single day. So there is a power that comes from daily growth. Now there's a good scripture that says in the Proverbs, it says this. It says that he that gathers little by little will surely increase. He that gathers little by little will surely increase. Now it comes to my mind, I know in this generation and in our times, there is a hurriedness to growth. People want the instanta. It doesn't work. I tell you, the Bible says also, permit me, I always use it. It says that, those who are hasty for riches, they will fall into all diverse kind of troubles. So growth can be daily. That is very important. What does daily mean? Daily means step upon step upon step upon step upon step. You keep adding step upon step upon step. The wisest man that ever lived, said this. He said, every day has his own troubles. Every day has troubles of his own. Be concerned about the needs of today. Let me tell you in truth. Do you think there's a future? Many people say the future is something. Future is a place. Let me tell you, there's no future. Someone say, what do you mean by there's no future? The future is what you do today. Yes. Thank you, Joma. The future is what you do today. If you don't do anything today, your tomorrow will not be guaranteed. So your growth must be intentional on a daily basis. You must tell yourself, I will grow. Now, while learning is very good for growth, but learning alone without application is not growth. Somebody hear that? Learning is good for your growth, but learning without application is not growth. There is some growth, no doubt, when you learn, but when you apply it, it even becomes a lot better. It becomes a lot better. And let me point again to the wise book where it says, this book of the law shall not depart out of your mouth. That's daily growth. But you shall meditate on it day and night. That is growth. So that you may observe to do. That's where the growth comes in. You may observe to do all that is therein, and then you will make your way prosperous, and then you will have good success. So learning is good, but always remember, you need to apply what you've learned. Now, I want to get some few responses in the chat box. How many of us have a vision for the next 1 year for our lives? Just be honest. Just put a yes and no. Yes and no. I want to just say yes and no. So the prince says, I do. Do you have a vision? Now, let me ask you a second question. Have you written your vision? Put a yes or no. Have you written your vision? Yes, somebody says, yes, I've written my vision. Now, are you planning out your vision? That's the next question. Because a vision alone is not growth. There are many people who write the New Year resolutions. At the end of December, they say, oh my God, nothing has been done. Because you can write a vision. If you don't action your vision with daily steps to grow, nothing happens. So it's very, very key. If you write your vision or you have a vision, well, you need to write it down. But let me also ask you now, how many of you see yourself what you might be 1 year from now? What do you think? What do you think you might become 1 year from now? Do you have a plan for 1 year from now? Think about it. What have you written down for 1 year from now? It's very important. When you look back, I hope you look back and say, yes, I did a good job. Now, let me say something on a personal note in all humility. When I got into school, before I got into university, this is about growth. See, you can be a good student from your secondary school getting to university. That's not what counts to excellence in your academics. But if you want to grow, you have to put daily steps. I remember I set an objective for myself at the start of my 100 level. I told myself what I would like to graduate with at the end of my 500 level. So I already had a 5-year goal or 5-year vision. So that meant from the moment I got into school, I ensured that all the steps that I needed to do, I made sure I follow them in order for me to get the results at the end of my 500 level. Now, I realize some students don't plan at all, when what they want to come out with from school. They have no idea. All they're saying is, I'm going to school, I will graduate. But they're not asking, what do I want to graduate with? I mean, think about it. You finish with a third class. You will have third class people to compete with and many more above you. But if you have a plan, a growth plan, you begin to put those systems in place and say, okay, yes, I will want to graduate the vision, but what's my growth plan? I will put my study times, I will put my reading times. You may have to skip certain things that students get to do in school. You may say, oh, well, associations, I may minimize my activities. You have to know yourself. So I set out that plan. And what did I do on my personal notes that helped me to grow was I was always ahead of my class. What I did was every year I would get the books from those who are one level ahead of me, and I would start looking at their books before the semester even starts. That was my growth plan. And that also helped me to be ahead. So think about it, that you need, your vision must be followed with a daily growth plan. And that's the power of growing daily. Don't rush it. And let me say this as it comes back to my mind. Don't pursue perfection from the beginning. You will be stressed. Nothing stresses growth like perfection from the beginning. I can tell you that for free because I have behaved like a perfectionist, I must say, and I'm walking away from it as quickly as I can. Perfectionism will always stunt your growth. Just grow every day. Just keep adding one day after the other, one day after the other. And suddenly you realize that, oh, I've become perfect. Let me tell you a story that somebody once said, and this tells you about the power of daily growth. I'll move on to the last slide. Someone said a teacher came to a class, and he said he wants to divide the class into two groups. Now, group number one, I want you to take the perfect pictures. Group number two, well, I want you to just take pictures every day. Just keep taking pictures. So he gave them the assignment, and after 1 week, he came back to the class and said, okay, guys, submit your results. The group that were taking pictures daily, in the 1 week, they were able to take excellent pictures because they kept taking it and they kept getting better and better. What happened to the group with perfection? They didn't take any pictures at all because they were still looking for the perfect picture. They were stressed by it. So growth daily is very, very key. So try to always think about growth on a daily basis. Don't allow perfectionism to be your order of the day. Now let's go to the next slide, Luigi, and let's see as we begin to come to a gradual close. Now, good things take time. Or please write this down on the chat that good things take time. I already gave you an example about your lives. Some of you are 17, 19. I am almost getting to my 50s. And I know that I wasn't like this 50, not maybe 50, but I'm not like this many years ago. But, from the day you started running around as a little baby, look at what you have to do every day. Good things take time. Good things always take time. And this is where you need a lot of patience. Good things take time. The Bible says that just look at how the farmer waits eagerly for the harvest. Now, here's the catch. If you don't invest, like that iceberg picture you saw earlier on, if you do not invest in the unseen things, you will think you are not making progress. Now, think about it. Hard work, nobody can easily see hard work sometimes. Sometimes, yes. Now, you have a failure, people begin to feel sorry for you, but if you evaluate it correctly, you begin to see things. So, good things take time. Good things always take time. They don't happen overnight, so don't rush it. Don't rush it. But he that gathers little by little will always, surely increase. So we said growth happens daily, not in a day. Small steps, very important. Now, as you are growing with time, there are some things you need as support to help you as you grow with time. Number one, like the good farmer, when you are growing, what do? You need to go for the weeding. I'll be very honest with you. I did some farming when I was much younger. in where I live, we used to farm rice. First, we farmed maize or corn. We farmed granules, beans, and then later we farmed rice. There is one season that I hated the most. Well, about two of them. Actually, I don't like farming in fact. But I hated the weeding season. The weeding season is a very hard season because you are careful not to remove the foundations you've laid, but you know there are certain things you have to remove. Oh yes. So you need in your waiting time, you need to remove the weeds. What are some of the weeds you can remove? Negative thoughts. Negative thoughts. Stop saying your background, my background, my background. Your background is not the reason why your back should be on the ground. Some of us can say that today because we've seen that, yes, truly our background is not the reason why our backs should be on the ground. Very important. Two, to remove the weeds, you also need to remove, challenge things that limit your belief. Let me tell you one thing I'm reflecting on that I think I'm going to change myself on the personal note about growth. I realized that I started saying things like, if I want to do a job or do something, or some occasions, some things, not all things, I would say, it's not easy, Sha. It's not easy, Sha. But let me tell you the truth. Do you know where that thought is coming from in my own heart? I tell you where it's coming from. I'm looking at my capacity. I'm looking at what I can do or what I have done. And now the task that is before me is above my capacity and what I've done before. So my default method is to say, well, it's not easy, Sha, because I'm looking at myself. What should I say differently? I should not limit my belief. I should tell myself, okay, this is the challenge before me. How can it be solved? Who can I call? Aha, remember, you need the right people for growth. You need the right people. Growth doesn't mean you have to do it alone. You need the right people. I told a student the other time, you're struggling with reading your books. Why don't you get somebody in your class who is better at staying up awake and work with the students? That one doesn't sleep when he's reading. You can grow. So when you find yourself with that kind of limiting belief, oh, this is who I am, or this is what we are, you will not make the right growth. So you need to weed out limiting beliefs. The third thing you need to weed out from your life, remove them as weeds, is toxic friends and habits. Toxic friends and habits. And I'll say not only friends, even family. Sometimes the people that love us the most are family, but the people that limit us also are family. You know, because sometimes when your family loves you so much, now please do not go out on your family and say, yes, I knew it, my family is my problem. No, 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 please don't go there. Now, why I'm saying this is this. Because your family loves you so much, the last thing your family wants is that you suffer or you do something wrong. So they're always very protective. So sometimes they can limit you. So when you bring up an idea, I want to do this, no, 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 no. They are only concerned. So you won't take it in an offensive manner. Maybe you need other people who will be able to see it differently. So you need to remove friends. You need to remove anybody who is toxic to your relationships and to your growth. It's very important. Now, the second part about growth, you don't only weed, you also feed. Somebody say you support growth by feeding. Support your growth by feeding. It's not only weeding. Removing things is okay, but you are not a vacuum. You need to be filled as well. You can remove all you want to remove, but you need to fill. All right, you need to fill up yourself. In fact, filling up yourself is way better in the process of growth. Feed yourself. Feed yourself. Don't just say, well, what I have is enough. There's room for growth. Seek opportunities to learn. Build with encouraging friends. Connect with mentors and role models, and keep a growth mindset. Cultivate a growth mindset. Cultivate a growth mindset. You see somebody succeed. Tell yourself, I think I will succeed too. Don't now say, well, you know, I've tried it before. No, if somebody can succeed on a thing, that means you too can succeed. So that's a growth mindset. So feed yourself, remove the weeds, but also feed. This is very, very important. Now let's go to the last slide, and I think we'll wrap up at this point, and then we'll go to the Q&A. So why should I grow? Is this the last slide, Luigi, right? Yes, that's the last slide. So why should I grow? This is very key. Why should I grow? Now let me answer that question on the chat box. Somebody please write for me. Why should you grow? Let's put it there in the chat box. I want to see some responses. Why should you grow? Why should I grow? So somebody tell us why. Do I need to grow? Must I grow? Why should I grow? Somebody feel like I need to grow to be successful in life. You have to okay, why should I grow? No. Tell me why you want to grow. I want to see it in the chat box. This is the last slide. Why do you want to grow? Growth is the proof of life. It's the only assurance that tomorrow will be better. To become a better version of myself. All right. It's very interesting. So you guys you're in order, yes. You see, your growth is a reflection of you. Your growth is a reflection of what is deposited in you. And like you all know, I believe every one of you here, you are not just your own. You came from somewhere. And there's a lot inside of you given by the greatest of persons, the God Almighty. So there is something inside of you. There's an expectation. There's an expectation. So your growth shows you. Your growth reveals what is inside of you. Yes, there are external factors that will help you to grow, but it's a revelation of you. So your growth matters. So you unlock your potential. You feel good about yourself. Your values become stronger. You grow in humility, very key. I didn't say this earlier on, but I think Rita may have touched on it. Humility is very central to growth, my friends. Humility is very central to growth because anyone who says he knows everything by himself or himself and himself will never grow. So think about that. Also, your growth is important for others. Yes, your growth is also important for others. That's very key. And we learn this from our children. When your children see you excel, they too they want to excel. They also want to excel. When they see you achieving things, they too they want to achieve. So your growth is very important for those around you. There are a lot of benefits to growth, and I'll just ask one last question so that we can go to the Q&A. What is the one important lesson you've learned about the value of growth? What is the one lesson so far in your life that you've learned about the value of growth? Who wants to share with us? Just put it in the chat box. What's the one lesson you've learned about growth? Yes? But for me, as I read your chat, I would say that growth has helped me to understand the importance of giving and having values. When growth comes to be, certainly you see there are certain values that become so pronounced in your life. And that's a testament to growth. So I'll pause at this point, and I hope in these few slides we've had, I was able to, with Rena, able to share some thoughts about growth. But always remember, growth is intentional. It's a choice you have to make. You need the right environment. You need the right ingredients. You need the right attitude. And you need the right people. You need the right habits. So thank you very much, and I'll pass it back to Merichi and Rhoda. Thank you very much.
Okay, thank you so much. Thank you, Mr. Mohammed, for the awesome presentation today. It was really, really great. And I was able to jot down some things, and I hope you all listening have equally done the same. Like, man, this session is well packed. We've talked about failure, which is very important. He made us to understand that failure is a feedback. It is a feedback. It is teaching us how to grow. And I want you to know that every mistake you make is a message that guides your next move. And that's what failure does. So don't take failure as, the end of the world, the end of what you need to do. Take failure as something that teaches you. It's like a redirection. It redirects your path. Thank you so much, sir. And before I want everyone to start. Thank you for the appreciation messages that are coming up. Thank you so much. So if you have any question, kindly type it and send into the chat box. Yes, use the chat box to ask your question, and you can also raise your hand if you want to ask your question by yourself. You want to say it by yourself, please do that. So while we're waiting for questions to come in and for people to raise their hands, there's something I want to quickly say, and that is the fact that growth is not accidental. Mr. Mohammed said that. He said it. Growth is not accidental. You need to grow daily. You need to grow every day. And learning without application, like he said, is like planting a seed and never watering it. It won't grow. Growth happens when knowledge meets action. And I hope you're able to keep that in mind as you go into your new week and move into the new month and go about your activities, your studies, whatever you're doing, your work. Just have it in mind that if you keep learning without applying what you have learned, it is just collection. It is not growth. You won't grow from knowing things. You grow from actually doing things. And I hope everybody will keep to that as a guiding principle. Okay, so we have one question ready
Okay, I think I have spoken here. The
by
network is
from Thomas Precious.
Hi, sorry, Rhoda. I think your network was terrible at the time, so I'll just step in on to just take on the questions in the meantime. So we have one question here. It says, you said we need the right people for growth. So I want to ask, how do we know the right people? I think this question is directed to Mr. Momodu. So sir, would
Yeah,
the floor is yours.
that's a very good question, and I will address it in this way. Now, let me be honest. Most of the Bible is a very good book for wisdom. I must say that. Now, by the fruits of people, you will know them. By the fruits that people bear, you will know who they are. So, if you want to know the right people, you need to look at their lives. You need to look at the fruits they bear, not how they look, not by how they dress, no, but by the fruits they bear. So observe them, observe their patterns, observe their character, observe the way they behave, observe how they treat people, observe how they go about their work, observe how they treat their family. That's when you begin to know the right people. And then you begin to think about how to draw near to them. So look at the fruits that proceed from the people, not just their appearance. Never look at appearance, you mislead. Or how well they sound, those things will mislead. But look very well at their fruits. That's one way we begin to look at and begin to pick up and know the right people. So it's a trained thing that you need to do. Don't rush it. It's a trained thing. You observe and then you get to know. All right.
Oh,
I hope that helps.
thank you so much, sir,
Not,
for
not
that
much.
clarity. I think we have another question here, and this is going to be directed to Mrs. Rina. It says, what if you keep working towards growth, but you don't see any significant change?
I think, like we said before, if you are sowing the right seeds, so I'm assuming you are working the right way. That is, you're working on your values, on your strengths. Sometimes growth takes time, but you can also check with those around you, because sometimes you think you're doing the right thing, you're working towards growth, but actually you're doing things that are taking you back. So that's why you need you need people around you, like your mentors, people you can talk to and tell them that I have done this and this and this, but I don't seem to be progressing. Because sometimes what seems right to us, another person will think about, and it will look like you're just self-sabotaging. So check what you're doing, first of all, to make sure that it's actually the right things that you're supposed to be doing. And then be patient, like we said earlier. You need to be patient. Like the seeds, when a farmer plants in January or December and they see their harvest in November, it takes time. Sometimes some trees even take years. I talked about the mustard seed earlier. A number of them take years. But you need to remain confident that if you're doing the right thing, you will see the seeds. Definitely. Thank you.
Oh,
See
okay,
the
thank you.
fruits.
Thank you. I think,
If I may add to that,
okay,
just let me just add to what Rina rightly said. You have to keep this whole today series in mind to that question, because we talked about environment as well. Sometimes you may say you're planting, but you have to be sure you're planting in the right environment. You also have to consider the time. When you say no significant progress, on whose timetable are you measuring it? Where are you measuring it from? Because, like Rita said, a farmer, most of the things are hidden. But the farmer knows the seed is in the right ground and he knows there's a time for it. So you have to put that into the balance to say, okay, environment matters. And having evaluation from people is very, very key as well. So make sure that the way you are evaluating your significant progress is correct. Hope you are evaluating it correctly. So ask other people, the right people, not anybody, the right people, mentors. Yeah, that would be very key as well.
Oh, okay. Thank you so much. I also want you to just quickly respond to this question as well. It says, in a situation where you've made several mistakes in the process of growth, which has in turn punctured your confidence, how do you come back and how do you get your confidence back up?
Yeah, that's a difficult one. That's a tough one. I sympathize with the person who asked that question. I think that's property promise. I sympathize with you if that's exactly your situation, and I know it can feel a bit deflated. But I want to encourage you that I missed this out earlier on, but it's good your question brings it back. Remember the story of Thomas Edison, right? Thomas Edison was the man who tried to discover the light bulb and he failed 99 times. When they asked him the question, he said, how is it that you're able to do this? He said, he found out 99 ways how not to make a light bulb. He didn't say he found out 99 ways of failing, or he said he found out 99 ways of how not to make a light bulb, which is why we said failure is a feedback. If you see failure as a feedback, you will pick something to run with from there. If you see failure as failure, you will think that's the end point. So I would say, what can you learn from it? What you learn from it can be the stepping stone to what you will do next. And again, for growth, maybe this time, how have you done your growth? Did you get wisdom from other people? Did you run it on your own? Get into the pool of those people who are ahead of you. Get a mentor. It's very wise in a situation like this. If you don't have a mentor, get one. Don't lean on, oh, I've done it before, I know it before, I've tried it before. No, get a mentor. Get somebody who is in that game, who has done that thing before, or get mentors. He said if you have he said in the multitude of counselors there is safety. In the multitude of counselors there is safety. So reach out to somebody. And in this case, since you are a mentee, I want to challenge you. Go to your mentor. If you're a man, if you're a woman, doesn't matter. Go to your mentor and tell them this part of you and tell them that okay, you need guidance. If that's exactly your story, I'm sure they're willing to help you or connect you with people that can help you.
Wow, thank you so much, sir. We have another question. This is from Mrs. Rina. It says, is it possible for someone to put in the necessary input and not grow?
I'll say no. That is why earlier I said you need to check what input you're putting in. I have, just like Mr. Mamodu has said, all of us are where we are because of growth. Even, I mean, no one is stagnant. When you think about it, you eat food, you wake up, you drink water, you grow. Every year you have a birthday. So no, you cannot put in the necessary input and not grow. But you need to check what you're calling inputs. Are they actually the right inputs? And like Mr. Mamodu has said, that's where you need people who are going to check what you're claiming to be putting in. I'll give you an example. Let's say you have an exam and you wake up early, last minute, a day before the exam, and then you read, and then the exam comes and you fail. Will you say you put in the necessary input? I don't think so. Versus a person who starts earlier, starts preparing, goes and reads for the exam, prepares with their fellow students, does discussions. When you look at that too, yes, maybe both of you read, but you find that one person actually had enough time for even their memory to remember what they read. This person will claim they put in the necessary input, but it's not actually the right type of input. Maybe Mr. Mamodu can add on that, but that's what I think.
No, you're spot on. I think you've said it all. When you said no in the beginning, I nodded my head and said, yes, I fully agree with you. So important.
Oh, thank you so much, Ma. I think we have a final question, and this is from Mr. Momodu. He says, there are a lot of areas to grow in our life. How do we know where to direct our focus to at a particular time?
Very good question. That's a good one. Life is in different stages, and your learning is at different stages. I mean, learning at different stages are different. So when you were in primary school, you probably did everything, right? Everybody did everything. There was no separation because at that stage, that's what you needed to learn, and everyone needed to grow with that. But you went to the secondary school, and you saw at the point you started to have separations into sciences and arts and stuff like that. That's already a path being defined for growth. So you tailor your growth to your purpose. So you need to understand what you're made for. You need to understand the direction you are taking, and then you tailor your growth. Now that doesn't stop you from learning about other things, but you prioritize learning in the areas that you need for the future. Okay, so you tailor your growth. So you can't say, well, do this, do that. The question is, where are you going? I mean, I want to drive. I'm in the path of becoming a Formula One driver. And I'm thinking about if I can be jogging the ball every day for 3 hours. I mean, it makes no sense. So I need to tailor my growth in the direction of my life. So what's your purpose? Where are you going? And I always like to say, if you're a student and you're in school, your first the area you need to grow is growing in becoming a better person, having the best results, and also learning to grow a community of people around you. That's where you begin to learn how to deal with people and life in general. So growth should be tailored to your purpose, tailor your growth or the areas you want to grow in the direction of your life, right? The purpose that you already understand, for your life. That's what I'll say.
Oh, thank you so much.
Okay. Um, okay. Thank you so much. Thank you so much, our facilitators. Can you hear me?
Yeah, we can hear you.
Yes, we can.
Okay. Thank you so much, our facilitators. Thank you, Mrs. Serena. Thank you, Mr. Mahmood. God bless you all. And this session, the questions, the answers, everything has been very impactful. And I'm happy to be here, and I hope everybody, the participants, are equally happy to be here. So one last word for me before I hand over to Lewichi for the announcement. I want you to know that a plant doesn't grow because it wishes to. It grows because someone watered it. That goes for us, is the same for us as well. So growth is cultivated, it is fed, and it involves consistency. So you have to be consistent in order for you to grow. And I hope that guides you today. Thank you. Louis, you can take it forward from here.
Wow, thank you so much. Thank you so much. Over the course of today, lots of words have been said. Uh, One good thing you can do for yourself is not to try to gather everything, but to pick each one important thing and start working on it. If you can gather everything, good for you. But next up, we have an announcement, and please just pay attention to the screen as I'll be taking us through the slides for the announcements. Starting off on the announcements, we have an important information to share with us in that our Zoom sessions can now take up to 300 participants. What this implies is that everyone can now be on the call. So YouTube will be for replays, and there's a good side and there is also a downside. If I'm permitting to say, it's that for YouTube replays, when you go, but if you don't join in on the live session and you connect via YouTube, it's considered a replay, and that also has a point, reduction for you on the PG scoring metric. So I just wanted to bring this to our attention so that we are aware of this. So as much as you can, priority status is for those who are participating on the live session here on Zoom. So if you're having any challenges with your Zoom during the week, you can reach out to the admin team and we would definitely help you, to work on it and guide you through processes of how you can effectively participate on Zoom and, avoid any hurdles that you're facing at a particular point in time. Remember, everyone is expected to be on the call at every MMM session, and you're expected to be on the call 5 minutes before the start of MMM, which happens to be 9:55 a.m. you should be on the call by 9:55 a.m. and we can accommodate everyone. We have over 200 and something participants, or rather 237 to be precise. That means the Zoom platform can cater for every one person. So this is a charge to all Bear community managers. Make sure to reach out to your group members and encourage them to be part of the process and part of this session, because we are evolving and soon we'll be seeing much more happening in our live sessions as well. Also, I know we had our PG results published to us earlier in the week, and a lot of questions came in asking how do we calculate PG, what's the metric, and how do we go about it. It's very simple. If you can see on your screen, this will also be shared with us later on. It's a very simple mode of calculation. Your participation and engagement in MMMs are very important. While the session is going on, attendance is already being catered for. We are taking attendance already. We have our metrics we are using to score you on your attendance. So if you're here on the call and you're not participating, you're not, engaging, you're not here on the call, we have our ways of, tracking your participation and also your attendance. So your participation, your engagement, your presence, all these things, they form your attendance in the MMM session. That is why it is called participation and engagement in MMM. Also, another way we score you through the PG metrics is using your workbook. So when you reflect on your workbook, when you engage thoughtfully, it's not by writing like 5 lines and saying, "Oh, I'm done my workbook," because the essence of the workbook is to make you reflect inward and actually write it out. It's for your benefit, but we are scoring you so that we are trying to measure your growth. We're helping you measure your growth, but this is a benefit for you. But our role play here is that we are measuring your growth so you can see how well you have performed and you can track it. It says when success is not measured, it's just a wishful thought. So we need to measure where we've been and where we have come to. So we take our time to go through your workbook responses. We read through your workbooks. You can imagine the hurdles and stress we go through, all to make a better you. So you see that we go through this. So you should be thoughtful as well when you're engaging your workbooks. You shouldn't just take it as a casual thing. I see some persons, they come in the fourth week and they want to fill all the backlogs of every week. But that's not the right way to go about it. We learned today that when you put in the right input, you will always get the right outcome. So put in the right inputs in your workbooks. And also remember, we are only helping you measure your growth. The choice is yours to grow. And lastly, another scoring parameter we use for the PG calculation is your engagement in your mentorship groups. So we have mentorship groups. Each one of us here are part of a mentorship group, whether it be MG1, MG2, all down to MG20. We have 20 mentorship groups. So whichever mentorship group that you're part of, your interaction and your contributions in that mentoring group is also being scored and monitored. We evaluate your responses, your engagement. Mind you, it's not just coming up to say, "Hi, good morning, how are you? I'm fine." No, these are not what we particularly call engagements. Going forward, you'll be having more structured and informed mode of communications also, so that you can know how and center around where we are, tracking your engagement or your mentorship group. We'll be sending out some topics for us to discuss in line with every mentorship that week we have. So we'll send out a discourse where you would engage your peers, learn from each other and have that session for yourself. And also cheers to all the peer community managers that have been doing amazingly. You guys have been so amazing. Thank you so much for the good work you're doing. I want to celebrate you openly and say we see your work. Some of us won't go as far as calling our peers. Some of us go as far as setting up group calls. Some of us go as far as, checking on them personally. Some go as far as constantly, helping them engage, helping them remind them about their workbooks. You guys are doing amazing, amazing. And we're all students as well. So you see that we are giving that extra effort, putting that extra input. And I tell you, it's not a waste of time. It is actually you adding value to someone's life and actually enriching yourself as well. So remember, you're creating the right environment for people, and thereby you're also creating a good portfolio for yourself as well. So do not relent, keep the good works going. And finally, we would also want you to know that workbooks will be posted weekly as always, although we have a twist this time around. Last session we posted workbooks and everybody submitted at the end of workbook 4, or rather week 4, but it's no longer going to be like that. Going forward, workbooks will be posted and your submissions will now be weekly. So if you miss out on submission for the week, you lose your score for that week. So this is a call to action. So you should be engaging on your workbook, because the idea of the weekly workbook is such that it is done weekly. So at the end of the week submission, you should submit your workbook. We're not sending out any separate submission links. Please listen. We are not sending separate submission link. When you open the Google form, you would fill your form and you see the submit icon. Kindly click and submit. Please do not screenshot "I wanted to submit" and send to the admin team. We would not listen to you, because we've given clear directive and instruction. Make sure you hit the submit button, and when you submit, it's important to note that a copy of your response will be sent to your Gmail, so you can always see your response, reflect on it, and have it for yourself. So if you have any issues whatsoever, you can always present that to us, that you submitted and this is your evidence. Do not screenshot your workbook for me and send down to any of the admin team members to say, "Oh, I submitted." That is no submission. That is not what we consider submission. What we consider submission is that you actually clicked the button, you did actually the workbook, and you have your Google response sheet to claim for that. So remember, we're always here to serve your best interest and to make you be the best you can be. So remember, weekly workbooks will be posted and submissions will now be weekly. So do well to have an amazing week ahead. We've come to the end of today's MMM session. I remember attendance is currently being taken, so we are already taking attendance as the session has been ongoing. So if you're looking out for a link, there's no link. We've been doing that since the beginning of the session till now. We've been tracking your attendance, your engagement, and everything. So when we release your PG score, do not be surprised by saying, "Oh, I was in the meeting. How come I have this little score?" Now you know why. So PEGE stands for participation and engagement, which happens here on the workbook on MMM sessions. The G stands for your growth, which happens in your workbook, and the E stands for the engagement, which happens in your subsequent subgroups. So please do well to engage and keep being amazing. Remember, keep growing, keep getting better. We're here rooting for you. The admin team is rooting for you. On behalf of the mentorship team and the admin team, I want to say thank you for the good work you're doing. We see you grow, we see you excel. And lastly, I want you to know that we'll be posting the workbook for this week after today's session. So do well to look out for it on your various groups and also on the general group as well. If you have any questions, feel free to reach out to the admin team. We're always here to help you and guide you. Thank you so much and have an amazing day ahead. Once again, shout out to every admin team member on the call. Thank you, Rhoda, for such an amazing hosting. Thank you so much to all our facilitators, and thank you to the mentorship team. And we celebrate our very special Mrs. Member. Thank you so much, Ma, for all you do for us. We say thank you. Have an amazing time ahead, everyone, and see you.
Thank you. Bye.